The energy you carry determines what you attract. The energy you carry determines what you attract. And this is not just a nice quote or something people say to sound deep. It is the truth that shapes every interaction in your life, especially when it comes to attraction. People think attraction starts with looks, money, or words, but the real foundation is the energy behind everything you do. It is the unspoken language that reaches someone before your voice does. It is the way your presence feels before your personality is even understood. And the reality is, most men never work on their energy. They only work on the surface. They change their hairstyle, their clothes, their routine, but they never change the intensity, calmness, or direction within themselves. They try to impress with things that fade instead of building the internal force that lasts. Energy is not something you pretend to have. It is something you build quietly over time, when no one is clapping for you, when no one sees you, when no one is validating you. It is the product of discipline, self-respect, and direction, and it is the one thing you cannot fake. When you walk into a room, people feel your energy before they hear your voice. They sense if you are secure or insecure, calm or anxious, grounded or lost. You cannot hide your inner state because the body reveals what the mind tries to conceal. If deep down you feel like you are not enough, you will project it without meaning to. Your posture will shrink, your presence will fade, your voice will wobble, your eyes will dodge. But when you know your worth, not through ego but through inner work, your energy expands, your shoulders sit back, your voice becomes steady, your eyes stay locked, your presence becomes undeniable. Women do not respond to the words you say, they respond to the energy behind those words. A simple hello from a grounded man carries more weight than a paragraph from someone who doubts himself. Confidence is not in what you say, it is in how you exist. Energy also decides whether you chase or attract. Needy energy chases, insecure energy seeks validation, desperate energy tries too hard to be noticed. This kind of energy pushes people away even when you are trying your best to pull them closer. But when you carry the energy of someone who knows his value, who respects himself, who is focused on his mission, you do not chase, because you do not need to. You attract naturally. There is something about a man who does not require validation that becomes irresistible. It is not arrogance, it is inner certainty. It is the quiet message your presence gives off. I am enough as I am. And that message changes everything. Your energy also comes from how disciplined you are. Discipline builds self-trust, and self-trust is the root of confidence. The reason so many men lack energy is because they break promises to themselves. They say they will wake up early, but they don't. They say they will hit the gym, but they skip it. They say they will fix their life, but they procrastinate. Every time you break your word to yourself, a piece of your power fades. You stop trusting yourself, and the world feels that weakness. But when you do the things you said you would do, when you rise before the sun, when you train with intention, when you build habits, when you grow mentally and physically, your energy transforms in ways you cannot explain. It becomes steady, bold, confident, and attractive without effort. A disciplined man carries the kind of energy that draws people in because he trusts himself, and that makes others trust him. Another part of your energy is direction. A man without direction becomes emotionally unstable, reactive, and chaotic. But when you have a purpose, when you know where you are going and why you are going there, your energy becomes sharp. Women feel safe around men who have direction because direction shows stability. It shows leadership. It shows clarity. You do not have to be perfect. You just have to be progressing, building, moving forward. Purpose gives you an aura not everyone understands, but everyone feels. It makes you rare. It makes you magnetic. Your energy is also shaped by the company you keep. If you surround yourself with weak mindsets, lazy habits, and negative conversations, your energy becomes contaminated. But when you surround yourself with growth, ambition, and discipline, your energy becomes powerful. People can feel the environments you spend time in, and your energy will always reflect what you allow into your life. Protecting your energy is not selfish, it is necessary, and in the end, the energy you carry becomes the story people believe about you before you even speak. It shapes how you are perceived, how you are remembered, and how deeply you are felt. It determines who you attract and who you repel, who chooses you and who forgets you, who sees your value and who overlooks it. Your energy is your silent introduction, your invisible signature, your unspoken power. When you build it, strengthen it, and guard it, you do not lose out, because everything meant for you starts moving closer without you having to chase it. Women are drawn to men who choose themselves first. Women are drawn to men who choose themselves first, because choosing yourself shapes your foundation, your mindset, your lifestyle, and your entire aura. When a man places his purpose, his growth, and his inner strength at the center of his world, he transforms into someone who is not only attractive but magnetic. Most men misunderstand this idea. They think choosing themselves means being selfish or disconnected, but in reality, it means building such a strong internal world that anyone who enters it feels the power and stability you've created. Women are naturally drawn to that kind of man because he is not looking to be completed, he is already whole, he is not seeking permission to exist, he is already rooted in his identity, he is not chasing validation, he is busy validating himself through action, progress, and discipline. Choosing yourself first begins with knowing what you want in life. Not what society tells you to want, not what your friends expect from you, not what someone else thinks is best for you, but what speaks to your soul. A man who is aligned with his goals develops a certain intensity in his energy, his focus becomes sharp, his priorities become clear, and his actions follow a direction. This kind of man doesn't drift through life. He moves with intention, he works with purpose, he grows with consistency, and that alone sets him apart from the majority. Purpose is attractive because it is rare. Most people are lost, distracted, or stuck in cycles that drain them. But a man who chooses himself refuses to live that way. He invests in himself, and that investment becomes visible in everything he does. A man who chooses himself first naturally commands respect. Not by force, not by aggression, but by the way he carries himself. When you prioritize your own growth, you stop lowering your standards to please others, you stop tolerating disrespect, you stop offering your energy to the wrong people, you stop giving attention to those who don't deserve access to you. This shift creates a powerful magnetism. Women feel the difference instantly. They can sense when a man respects himself, because a man who respects himself treats others with clarity, honesty, and intention. He doesn't play games because he doesn't need to. He doesn't cling because he doesn't fear losing anything. His life is already full of meaning and direction. His identity is not built on someone else's presence. That emotional independence is one of the most attractive qualities a man can have. Choosing yourself first also means you stop seeking validation. When you rely on others to tell you who you are, you lose your power. But when you validate yourself through your own actions and achievements, you gain a confidence that cannot be shaken. You walk differently, you speak differently, you make decisions differently. That quiet, unforced confidence is what draws women in, because it shows strength without arrogance. It shows certainty without loudness, it shows maturity without ego. It shows that you are not trying to impress anyone, you are simply living in alignment with who you are becoming. Another part of choosing yourself is setting boundaries. A man without boundaries loses himself in every relationship. He bends too much, he sacrifices too much, he gives too much, and eventually he becomes someone he doesn't recognize. Women don't want a man who loses himself for them. They want a man who remains himself with them. They want someone who knows what he will accept and what he won't. Someone who doesn't compromise his integrity. Someone who stands firm in his values. Boundaries create respect. Boundaries create clarity. Boundaries create attraction. They communicate silently that you are not afraid to walk away from situations that don't align with who you are, and nothing is more attractive than a man who is not afraid to walk away. Choosing yourself also means building your life first before you seek to share it with anyone. A man who invests in his health, his career, his growth, his friendships, his stability, and his purpose become someone who radiates fullness. Women are drawn to that fullness because it makes them feel safe and inspired. A man who is stable in himself naturally becomes a source of emotional security without trying. A man who is disciplined naturally becomes a source of inspiration without forcing it. A man who is ambitious naturally becomes a source of direction without speaking. That is the kind of man people feel pulled toward because he carries a sense of grounded certainty that is rare in a world filled with distractions and uncertainty. And when a man chooses himself first, something incredible happens. He stops chasing love and starts attracting it. He stops begging for attention and starts receiving it without effort. He stops feeling invisible and starts becoming unforgettable. Not because he is trying to impress anyone, but because he has become someone who is worth noticing, someone who is worth respecting, someone who is worth choosing. A man who chooses himself first becomes a man who others naturally want to choose too. Attraction grows from consistency, not performances. Attraction grows from consistency, not performances, because real connection is built on the version of you that shows up every day, not the version you pretend to be for a moment. Most men fall into the trap of thinking they need to impress someone with grand gestures, perfect lines, or temporary confidence. They think attraction comes from doing something extraordinary once, but the truth is much simpler and much deeper. What matters is whether your character, your presence, and your energy stay solid over time. Consistency is the foundation of true attraction because it reveals what kind of man you really are beneath the surface. Anyone can act confident for a few minutes. Anyone can pretend to be disciplined for a week. Anyone can talk big when things are going well. But the man who remains consistent, steady, and committed to his growth becomes someone who cannot be ignored. Consistency shows emotional stability, and emotional stability is one of the strongest forms of attraction. When you are consistent, you don't change your behavior based on mood, situation, or who is watching. You remain grounded, you remain reliable, you remain measured. That steadiness makes people feel safe around you. It shows that you are not easily shaken by challenges, not controlled by impulses, not driven by insecurity. It shows that you have your emotions under control instead of letting your emotions control you. Women are drawn to that stability because it reflects maturity and strength, and it makes them trust your presence. It shows them that you are not a temporary spark but a steady flame, something they can feel secure around. Consistency also reflects discipline. When a man is disciplined, it shows in how he treats his goals, his responsibilities, and his personal growth. A man who wakes up early, takes care of his body, improves his mind, focuses on his craft, and lives with structure radiates a powerful energy. It is an energy that tells the world he is serious about himself. And that seriousness is magnetic. It signals that he is not looking for shortcuts or temporary thrills. It signals that he is building a life that has purpose, foundation, and direction. A man like that does not need to perform because his life is already the performance. His routine, his effort, his habits, and his discipline speak louder than any words he could ever say. Consistency also means being the same person in every environment. A man who acts confident around his friends but collapses in front of others is not consistent. A man who is kind to those above him but arrogant to those below him is not consistent. A man who is calm when life is easy but explosive when life gets hard is not consistent. Attraction grows when a woman sees that you are the same man in private and in public, in pressure and in calmness, in strength and in vulnerability. This does not mean you never feel emotions. It means your emotions do not break your character. You respond with intention instead of reacting out of fear or insecurity. That emotional integrity is rare, and its rarity makes it powerful. Consistency builds trust. Trust is not created through words or promises. It is created through repeated actions. It is created when someone sees that you follow through, that you show up, that you do what you said you would do even when no one is watching. Trust grows every time you prove that you mean what you say. This is why performances fail. A performance disappears the moment the spotlight fades. Consistency, however, grows stronger with time. It shows that you are reliable, and reliability is a core ingredient in attraction. A man who can be counted on becomes a man who is valued, not because he tries hard to be liked, but because his presence creates certainty. When your consistency is real, you don't have to prove anything. You don't have to chase anyone. You don't have to convince someone of your worth. It becomes visible on its own. The way you treat your goals, your responsibilities, your body, your mind, all of it reflects who you are without you needing to announce it. A consistent man doesn't need validation because his own results validate him, his habits validate him, his progress validates him, and that kind of self-validation is extremely attractive because it shows independence and strength. Consistency also prevents you from slipping into neediness. When you have a routine, a mission, and a set of personal standards, you don't abandon your life for someone else. You don't cancel your responsibilities for attention. You don't compromise your identity to be liked. You stay rooted in who you are, and that rootedness attracts more interest than any performance could ever create. A man who cannot be easily swayed is a man who intrigues others. A man who does not give up his path for compliments or affection is a man who stands out. Consistency is not about being perfect. It is about being committed. It is about showing up even on the days you don't feel like it. It is about staying disciplined even when it is tempting to fall back into old habits. It is about continuing to improve even when progress feels slow. That long-term commitment to your growth creates an energy that people cannot ignore. It makes you stand differently, think differently, and carry yourself differently. It creates a presence that is felt, remembered, and respected. Performances fade, but consistency builds identity, and identity is what people are truly drawn to. When your identity is shaped by discipline, purpose, emotional strength, and reliability, attraction becomes a natural result of who you are. Women don't fall for the act. They fall for the man who shows up consistently, the man who can be depended on, the man whose character holds even when life tests him. Consistency turns you into someone whose presence speaks louder than words, someone who doesn't need to prove his worth because he lives it every day.